So today we did the DLR passing again, first to the side smash and then to the knee cut. So actually thinking that, so Professor Tim was sort of talking about how the whole point of jiu-jitsu is to make the guy, told us lesson before, but that what you want to do is you want to give your opponent options and then or more like dilemmas. So you give them like a decision tree, and then you know what you should do at each point of decision, each node of a decision tree. I was thinking that it's similar to like investing. So investing, there's different kinds of investing. So one is more like value investing, where you buy something at a price where you know that it's lower than what the price should be. And another is more like what's the name of it? More of event investing, or event investing, when you know something is going to happen. So for example, like a merger, the merger will eventually happen, or it's in the works, and therefore there's a price arb, and you can buy the target and sell the buyer and make money that way. The only way you lose the money is if it doesn't go through. And then there is another form of event planning that's more like I can't remember these terms anymore. Activist investing, where you actually cause the catalyst. So, for example, you think that a company is fraudulent, so you short them, and then you come up with all this research that explains why they are not worth what they're worth, or a company is not being managed properly, so you buy a bunch of shares, and then you force replacements of the board and management. So I think you can see jiu-jitsu through those three lenses also. Right? So the value approach is just improving your position over time until you reach such an advantageous position that a submission is inevitable. And then the other way, which is similar to that, is you keep applying pressure, and then when your opponent makes a mistake, then you jump on that mistake and you capitalize on it. So he overbalances, you sweep. If he overcommits, or puts a hand in the wrong place, whatever, and you see that mistake and you pounce on it. And then, so that would be more like event investing. The first one is more like value investing, and the third way that's more like sort of activist investing is when you force a choice that sort of all the outcomes, I guess. So you're forcing the opponent to make a decision. So that's more like what I was saying that Tim was talking about earlier, where you force your opponent into a series of dilemmas, each of which you know how to capitalize on. So just an analogy I was thinking about. So then after class, I did a private with him, and I've been having problems with half guard. So half guard is where your legs are sort of interwoven. So if I'm on my back, my opponent is astride one of my legs. So, and the reason I'm sort of focusing on this position is I feel that everything flows through that. If I'm passing someone, I'm likely to end up there. If I'm getting passed, I might end up there. If I'm escaping from a bad position, I will usually end up there. So pretty much every role I'm in half guard at one point or other. So I think being able to be strong in that position would be more, it's like 80-20, right? It's more economic to focus on that position. So the problem is that when your shoulders are flattened out in half guard, it's actually a really bad position. And when I'm escaping from various positions, so if I'm escaping from mount or side control, usually I'm just happy to get out of those positions. So I'm happy being in like a very weak half guard as opposed to being on the bottom mount or the bottom side control. So I just like kind of sneak a foot in, grab a hook, and then I'm trying to sort of weasel my way through and get my knee shield in. Knee shield being when the top leg gets in between me and my opponent and I can pull them off. Which is like, I don't know, 50% effective against like white belts, maybe 10% effective against blue belts. And I thought, it's just like I need to get better at this. I need more experience in doing that. So I was asking Tim about this, and he was saying he actually doesn't like that form of escape from mount. He wants to instead do like a butterfly guard. Butterfly guard is when you have like your knees in between as a guard, with your heel sort of touching your butt, sort of. So it's kind of like your knees are bent in between you and your opponent, and your ankles are hooking their legs. So if your knees are kind of spread out, so it looks like a butterfly. So he likes to get into that position from mount when he's escaping mount, or side control. So that was interesting. So the technique that I learned before is effective against white belts, or, well, not necessarily. It's ineffective against higher belts because there's no encounters to them, or if they just put their weight down, it's hard to sort of match that, or to counter that. Yes. So okay. So I said, because my whole point was that I'm getting smashed in half guard. How do I get out of that? So I figured that it's better. I want to figure out how to get out of a weak form of half guard in order to improve my position. And then, so his answer is basically, well, you shouldn't get into that weak form of half guard, which is, obviously that's great to know, like sarcastically, but yes, that is actually great to know, because the technique that I was working on leads to a bad outcome against better people, right? So yeah, so it is actually ineffective to do it. Then we went over what to do when you have a bad half guard, and that's something called the John Wayne seat, which I've learned before, but it works in training, but it never got to work. It got to work very rarely in actual rolling. So he's watching me do it, and the thing is that I'm not going underneath as much. So what I would sort of do is, so what you have to do is you have to go directly underneath your opponent, and then with his weight on top of you, and even better, if his weight is pushing against you, use that weight and momentum to sweep him to the other side. So what I would do is I would sort of go halfway through and then try to pull him over me, which if anyone is more than like 10% heavier than me, doesn't work at all. It just feels like I'm hauling dead weight. So the key is to get all the way under, sort of fully commit to the move, and then execute it. The other thing is, how do you get him to push so that you can use as a momentum? Right? So then if the sweep doesn't work, that opens up the other side. So you can come up the other side, and then when you're on the other side, it's very hard just verbally, but when you're on the other side, you're in this sort of like shoulder to shoulder pushing against each other. So once you feel him committing to that pushing sort of fight, that's when you duck back under, and then he basically, or he falls through and over you, and you have the sweep. So the first time I did it today, I swept him without even trying, because, I mean, he wasn't trying either. He was just pushing against me, and then all I did was let him win that push battle and roll over on top of him. So it was kind of amazing, just like, it's like not even, the technique doesn't even need to be right. It's just if you understand the forces at play, you can allow those forces to work. You just have to not interfere with them, if you get them to work the right way. And, it's just a combination of the forces and your technique that allows it to work in more situations.